Okay.
All right. Good evening and welcome to your talk show on the League of African Defense, as well as the Talk of Ghana. Happy New Year. We are excited you are here with us in 2021. Sorry, I'm not used to the 2021 because we just entered 2021. And I'm sure we'll all get used to it very soon. So welcome to 2021. There's more hope for the African youth, and we hope that we remain focused, and then all these hopes will come to pass. And today on the talk show, we are talking about African most ambitious integrated initiative that is embedded in the Agenda 2060 of the African Union. And the topic is African Continental Free Trade Area. Is it an action or a mere rhetoric? And our panelists, as usual, we have with us here Erasmus, we have Sir Lord, and we have Joachim Queno. One of our panelists will be joining us soon, that is Louise. We hope that he joins us soon to make our discussion very smooth and successful. So quickly, we go through what we have from today. We'll have a gentleman, Erasmus, tell us a brief background of what the African Continental Free Trade is all about.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if Joachim can play the video.
Okay, yes. So we're going to play a video, and you just grant me some grant me like only. Okay, I'm there. Would you like the sound to play too?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'm playing it now for our viewers. Okay, I hope you can see it.
Yep.
Okay, I'm playing it.
AfCFTA. Africa currently consists of 55 fragmented markets that are also amongst the fastest growing economies in the world. Yet trade within the continent is the lowest globally. Africa does more trade with those outside its continental borders than with its neighbors. But this is about to change. An agreement on the African Continental Free Trade Area was signed in March 2018 and is expected to increase the share of intra-African trade by up to 50% between 2020 and 2040. Liberalize services and tackle other barriers to intra-African trade. So what are the tangible benefits? When fully operational, the AfCFTA will bring together 1.2 billion people with a combined gross domestic product of more than $3 trillion, representing the biggest trade deal since the formation of the WTO, covering not only trading goods, services, investment, intellectual property rights, and competition policy. The agreement is expected to benefit small and medium-sized businesses, which are responsible for more than 80% of Africa's employment and 50% of its GDP. ECA has been working with its partners to support and prepare countries for putting the agreement into practice. This means setting up platforms for dialogue and national regional events for discussion on the AfCFTA, supporting the African Union member states in developing national strategies to ensure countries can implement the AfCFTA considering the characteristics of their own markets, developing an AfCFTA country business index, which will monitor and evaluate the implementation of the agreement for business. In addition to business, also mitigating the challenges, like ensuring the gender and youth-sensitive implementation of the AfCFTA, as well as mobilizing financial resources for implementation. The AfCFTA is an African solution for supporting industrial development, creating new business opportunities, generating jobs, and reducing poverty.
Okay, yeah, there.
All right. Yes. So I think that our viewers have seen what the African Continental Free Trade Area is about. Just to add a little bit, it's a free trade area. It's a trade agreement that allows member states, currently 54 member states, I think so, if I'm not wrong, to um, trade amongst themselves in goods, services, uh, and then in other forms of trade. And it's not any ordinary free trade area that deals only in goods, but then it deals in services, it deals in investments, which means that I can invest in the South African stock market if I feel, because I'm a Ghanaian and my country has signed on to the deal, so I am free to invest in the South African stock market just like any citizen of the South African country can do. I can send my services. If I am a carpenter, I can move from Ghana to Benin and then start my carpentry workshop there, and then deliver my services to the people as a carpenter. And if as a fresh graduate, I feel that the job market in Kenya is what is suited to my qualifications and what I've studied in school. I can quickly buy a plane ticket, prepare myself, go to Kenya, and look for a job there, and then start working in Kenya without any restrictions whatsoever. So on paper, it's actually a very good deal that will help Africans to, first of all, trade amongst themselves, and also to, first of all, help them to share ideas and initiatives. From the video, you would realize that Africa hardly trades among uh, itself because of the trade barriers that exist, especially at the ports and harbors. I don't know. I'm getting some feedback. I don't know what coming from.
Yes.
So that is why you realize that most African countries trade with Europe and the US instead of trading amongst themselves. And the AfCFTA is here to help resolve that problem. So yes, that is what I can say about the AfC.
Okay. Do any of us have anything to add to that?
So I think Erasmus has said it all. That's the main purpose of establishing it, is to ensure that there will be free movement of goods among member states. That's countries in the African Union. So Erasmus has said it all.
Okay. So welcome, Louise. Welcome on board. All right. So our next person is going to Lord. So Lord, we know that there are some countries that are disadvantaged. For instance, we have countries that are landlocked and all that. Which countries are going to benefit from this African Continental Free Trade Area? Which countries are going to benefit from it?
Okay, thank you. So I think all the African countries who have signed to it, I think so far there are, out of 55 countries, there are 53 countries who have signed to it. And as Erasmus said clearly, African countries, trade with the rest of the world than itself. So in 2019, 14.4% of African official exports went to the other uh, went to outside country, went to African country. 14.4% of African official exports went to other African countries, a small proportion compared to 52% of intra-Asian trade and 73% between European countries in the same year, 2019. And we can see, according to the World Bank, the African Continental Free Trade AfCFTA agreement to create the largest free trade area in the world, measured by the number of countries participating, because Africa is the second largest continent in the world. We have 55 countries. Countries. Uh, some of them are among the fastest growing economy in the world, but they fail to trade, among themselves. So when this agreement, start successfully, the impact, according to World Bank, the impact, the part connect about 1.3 billion people across 55 countries with a combined gross domestic GDP valued over 3.4 trillion. So when this thing starts, it's evident that African countries, so far the 55 countries who have signed to this agreement will benefit very greatly. Uh, Considering the economy we have, the countries we have, 55 countries, and these countries, trading among themselves, as World Bank said, then Africa will, benefit greatly, and 3.4 trillion US dollars is no joke.
All right. Okay, so we realize that some of the countries have signed to this treaty. So what happens to those countries that have not signed to the treaty? And especially, like I mentioned earlier before, there are countries that have their seed rates are good, but the land is, the air is okay. But when it comes to the sea rates, because they don't have the sea going through that, it becomes a problem with the seaport. So what becomes of those countries, and then also the countries that have not signed to the treaty? Joachim.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like our viewers to know that when we talk about ports, it's not necessarily seaports, because we have seaports, we have land ports, and we also have the airports. So there are three types of ports when we are talking about trade among countries. So it's not only about the seaports. Now, talking about the seaports, we know that there are several African countries who have gotten the chance to have seas, like Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Togo, and the rest. But those without the seaports and are having the land ports, they will also benefit from this. However, as you said, you only know that among the 54 countries, it's only like around 33 countries who have rectified it so far. But we hope that the others to rectify it. And now, again, who will be benefiting? Lord has said some, and I would like to add that the smaller countries will probably suffer, as it was said by Mr. Mene, South African experts, who has been selected by the African Union again to take charge of this. After he made it clear that countries with road difficulties will suffer, and it's true. You know that most African countries don't have what it takes in terms of logistics, like the road, and also even their border checks is a problem, and they don't have a well detailed, or they don't have a good source that one can go and say, I'm going to check something about the custom duties, I'm going to check about tariffs on goods. So these are some of the issues that the smaller countries may face, those without what it takes. But we know that definitely and probably we may get there. Yes.
Okay, so it means that the adoption is not too quick, but it's progressive.
Exactly. It's progressive because we don't have, seriously, we don't have what it takes. For now, we don't have what it takes. Because even in Ghana, that we've seen that Ghana is well advanced compared to many countries in Africa. Ghana itself has problem in terms of its ports, and also when it comes to custom duties and tariffs. Ghana doesn't have a well-equipped website that you can go there and search for the tariffs imposed on goods and even custom duties. You have to go through a lot of paperwork to find all these things. And just the 1st January, Ghana was able to come out to say that they are trying to do some modifications and other stuff. So I would say that it's progressive, of course.
Okay.
And comfort, to add to what Joaquin just said, I think apart from the rules and the border issues, also legal challenges from countries on behalf of their companies also put a problem, will also bring a lot of problem. For example, Ethiopia has banned foreign investment in its financial sector. So this also violate the rules of uh, AfCFTA. So I think legal challenges are also, some problems, and African countries should also, most of them who have, financial financial sector restrictions, to also look. And I think that's another challenge to adapt to what Joachim said.
Okay. So, Louise, we know that the AfTA is all about free trade and custom unions and all that. But we know how some of the African unions, especially African unions, some other unions in Ghana, in Africa, have become redundant after their establishment due to political issues and monetary issues. So do we think that after we one day culminate into a monetary union, or we have some kind of political integration in it first?
It's a big question, but I think after we remain a civil organization where the agenda for the collective good of Africans will be pushed. The issue I may have is infiltration from the West and having undue connivance between Western countries and our counterparts down here. Just 2 days ago, Ghana signed on a duty-free trade deal with the UK. And UK just got out from Brexit. Brexit was finally finalized, I think, by 31st or so. So it will not be a militarization of that institution. It will rather be the infiltration and the influence between individual countries and the West. That is what we'll see. Today, if you go to many supermarkets in most of the Francophone countries, you see many products from France, right? So if we are going to look at AfTA to make it really work, we need to collaborate with the countries that really need our assistance to make sure the trade volumes between us is increased. We need to ensure that companies that are based in Africa are able to produce the essential commodities that they need, so that we may be able to deal with the infiltration from the West. Otherwise, all our effort will be in vain. Okay, so for me sitting here, I do not think we'll have militarization of that institution. If that should happen, that would mean Ghana being the cause of it, because it's based in Ghana. We saw what happened to African Development Bank, based in it was based in Cote d'Ivoire, and when the war happened, it had to move from Cote d'Ivoire to Tunisia, and then when finally peace prevailed in Cote d'Ivoire, it returned back home. So that's largely the host country's political climate will largely play a significant role in ensuring that AfTA will be able to carry out its mandate, right? So one, the factor is the host country's political climate, and two, the ability of AfTA to be able to support member states so that they will not have undue influence from their already existing trading partners in the West. Once we're able to do these things, we will have a very excellent AfTA that would ensure that everyone within our sub-region benefits from it. Last but not the least is to collaborate effectively with the African Development Bank to ensure that we have a lot of manufacturing going on in our country. right? That we cut down on exporting raw materials out there. We use our raw materials down here so we can explore the full value chain of our product, and then we trade amongst ourselves. When we're able to do that, we'll be able to develop rapidly. Mind you, manufacturing is the bedrock of every country's development. And since independence, African states are the way they are today because of lack of proper manufacturing sectors in their countries, which would enable them move from where they are. Nkrumah started it with his rapid industrialization in the country, but sadly, when he was overthrown, it led to our economy falling and falling and falling, and that is why we find ourselves here. So after will need to collaborate more with the AfDB so they can give out loans. Ghana needs to play its part to ensure that we have excellent political climate, and after would also need to collaborate with the independent countries within the sub-region to ensure that we rid off undue influence, infiltration from our Western trading partners.
Okay. Thank you very much. And we have seen that Wafadino joined us live on Facebook. Ajira is also here with us. Thank you for joining. And if you just joined us, this is a talk show. Today we are talking about African Continental Free Trade Area. So we have spoken much about what it's about and the importance. So Erasmus, tell us some of the challenges that are going to arise as a result of this after.
Okay, I think Lewis has mentioned one of the most important ones, the significant ones, is the infiltration of the West into the Union or the free trade area. But I think one way we can solve that is to harmonize what we call the rules of origin. Rules of origin simply states that if a country is coming from so and so origin, then it is given preferential treatment. In the absence of that, then it means that tariff has to be paid. So the rule of origin has to be put in place to ensure that um, every country, all the goods that are given the preferential treatment under this trade agreement, all the goods are coming from countries that are signatory to the trade agreement, so that as Louis mentioned, like shops in Togo or in these neighboring francophone countries that have products coming from France, or even in Ghana having products coming from Germany, Turkey, and the rest. If these countries are not signatories, obviously, to the free trade area, then their goods are not permitted to go um, to come into the area tariff free. I think that is what has to be observed to mitigate against this problem. It is very important when you go to the European Union, the rule of origin works so that you can't bring goods from um, Madagascar and expect it to have the same treatment as goods coming to France from Germany. And so that is something that has to work. Another thing is trust, because you see, sometimes you find out that most of our African countries try to connive with the foreign countries in order for them to, have some benefits. And this comes back to our leaders. Talking about this rules of origin, it won't be surprising at all for one African country to, collaborate with a Western country to produce the goods from not from Africa, but from outside Africa, but put on the labels made in, for instance, Ghana. Meanwhile, those goods were not made in Ghana, just for some sake. So corruption has to be checked. Corruption has to be checked. There have to be systems to check that everything is moving in the direction as stipulated by the deal that has been signed by everyone. Accra has to ensure that it has put in place systems to actually check the goods coming in and the goods coming out. And as Joachim mentioned, the road facilities, China, knowing very well that they wanted to, dominate the African market in the years to come, have started the Road and Belt Initiative, where they are building a road all the way from China, all through India to Nairobi, if I'm not mistaken. So from China to Kenya, there is going to be a road, and it is not. It's like a long term initiative they have taken, but I'm sure with time they will get there. We also need a transportation, um, um, system like that, because it is currently a challenge that we are facing as a continent. We have issues with our transportation. We also have issues with, ethnicity. Let me say ethnocentrism, which bring the challenges of how do we call it? This thing going on in South Africa. Help me with the word.
Xenophobia.
Yeah, xenophobia. It's happening all over the place. There has to be strong policies and strong systems to mitigate against that. We have to be educated as well. The youth have to be educated. People have to know the opportunities that are available unto them. They have to know what sectors that their countries are going to benefit from. One challenge is also industrialization. I mean, I can list a lot of challenges, but maybe because of time, I'll stop at industrialization. We've realized that most of the goods that are exported from Africa to the West are in raw forms, and they are exported as raw materials. Whereas a majority of the goods that are traded in between African countries are industrialized goods, because already Ghana has their raw materials and Cote d'Ivoire has the same raw material. We can't trade in those raw materials. What we need is industrialization. So I think that this is not so much of a challenge, but an opportunity for Africa to grow its industrial um, sector, so that if you have to trade with Nairobi, you don't send Ghanaian raw pepper there. Maybe you can it, you add something to it. You know what Nairobi people want, and then you add something to it. You add value to your goods, and it generates jobs for the youth in the given country. So these are some of the challenges that we can overcome. One last one before I end is the political landscape in most African countries. Last week, we talked at length about countries that have presidents who want to hold on to power for as long as they are alive, and even some of them who would want to pass it on to their children as a family legacy. This has to be checked. I don't know what systems are going to be put in place, and I'm not even sure the African Union uh, has come to a level where they can, you know, check countries in these particular fields, where countries have to make sure that rule of law is working, law and order is working, democracy is going on, because all these things are going to run on democracy, and if we do not ensure that our democracies are intact and rule of law works in our countries, then it's going to be difficult. So yes, these are some of the challenges I think that we can
All
face.
right. So, thank you. All right, Lord. So, how can the African Continental Free Trade Area provide business opportunities that will enhance industrialization in Africa, in line with Agenda 2063, the African we want in the the Agenda 2063?
Hello, your line was breaking. I couldn't.
Oh,
Can you
sorry.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. And did you hear or to repeat that again?
Yeah, repeat for me, please.
All right. So I asked that how can the African Continental Free Trade Area provide business opportunities that would enhance industrialization in Africa in line with the Agenda 2063 as in the Africa we want?
Okay, I think even Erasmus talked a bit. Erasmus and Ken Lewis talked a bit about that. And for me personally, I believe one thing that can help will be more or less like a labor law, a protective laws where we guide our local industries, where we limit ourselves to import more or export more, where we can build more industries and support our local industry rather than depending so much on the uh, uh, foreign investors, foreign goods and all that. And one funny thing enough is that after is being supported by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation for Development since 2016, and via was is it JIJ. So I think one thing is just to limit this kind of cooperation, uh, more develop more with our local industries, our local government, rather than depend solely on these foreign people, foreign investors, foreign countries. So I think we have to bring about protective laws which will protect our industry very well, enforce us to develop our goods rather than depending solely, because Africa, we are saying that Africa is able to do it, but the only challenge is that com- they are being compete they are being challenged with competitors, because when you put Kantanka here and you put Toyota here, everyone wants Toyota, but it takes time for Kantanka to develop. So when Toyota is being challenged by Kantanka, how do you expect Kantanka growth to be smooth? It retards it. So when we limit this importation more and concentrate more on our local industries, I think we'll go for it as a continent altogether.
Okay. All right, thank you. So, Joachim, can you tell us some of the provisions in the AfCFTA treaty? Just highlight some of them.
Okay, thank you once again to our viewers. Some of the things that you must know as a viewer in the treaty is that there will be free tariffs imposed on member duties or progressive free tariff, and also custom duty too will be free. But I would like to say something here too, as Louis said, that quite unfortunate that Ghana, knowing clearly that the African Union will be launching the AfCFTA on 1st January, also went ahead to establish a trade deal between them and the United Kingdom, which is very sad. And
Mhm.
also, Lord has just stated that the German too are behind after, which, if I may use another synonym for sad, maybe abhorrent. But we hope that there will be something good from this too. And if I'm to add to it, Erasmus made it clear that there are some of the things stipulated in the constitution, which are the free tariffs on goods, which will even ensure that there will be trade among the people. Some of the things that we must consider, Louis made it clear, Erasmus too made it clear, is we should make sure that we trade among ourselves. And how can we trade among ourselves? Erasmus said that Ghana has the cocoa, Cote d'Ivoire has the cocoa, but they cannot use the cocoa. They cannot spend the cocoa. I mean, eat the cocoa or do everything with it, but they have to change it from its fair primary stage to the final stage. And that's what we've seen. That's the reason why Ghana has established a free trade deal. That's free tariff on cocoa with the EU. So a lot our cocoa, Ghana's cocoa is being exported to countries like France, Netherlands for free without any tariff imposed on them. And how it's very funny to know that the companies transferring these cocoas to these European countries too are not Ghanaian companies. They are companies which are located in these various countries found in the EU. So the free tariff that Ghana is sharing with the EU is going to the benefits of these countries. You
Mhm.
get it? So the free tariff that has been stipulated in the free trade agreement to go to the benefits of the African continent, if and only if country like Burkina Faso, who doesn't produce cocoa, sets a factory there, and this factory will be changing the primary cocoa beans into, maybe they will refine it and make it a secondary, and maybe they will export it to another country who can make it cocoa and maybe Milo for others, for them to drink it, and they could be able to export it to Ghana again, or they will send it to other countries. This will bring a value added. The value will be added. I mean, these are some of the things that we must consider as continent. The things that other countries are producing, we send the raw materials to another African country who can change it into another product. And this will be circulating in the continent, but not going outside the continent. But it's quite unfortunate that there are trade deals that we've established with other countries, making those other countries, not in Africa, but outside Africa, benefiting from it. And we can learn a lot from China. And let me shock you that Mauritania, there is a railway route, that's the longest railway route in the world, from Mauritania passing through Ghana and even going straight to Kenya. But how many people know about this? And even the African Union is not talking about this thing. You get it? When I got to know about this, I was shocked. And this is something that we can use as a trade route. You can use it as a first means of trade route. But Africa, we are just bringing out laws, and the law, there are a lot of countries I know will go against it. As Ghana, who has taken upon himself to host this AfCFTA, just went ahead to establish a trade deal with UK, who has not long ago left the EU, establishing a free trade deal with UK, forgetting about the AfCFTA, and there is no sanction which has been imposed on Ghana. And these are some of the, negative aspects that we can talk about the AfCFTA without not being strict. I know Louis and the others will add a lot to it.
Okay, so
just what Joaquin just said. This is very appalling. I think this is one thing we should AfCFTA should be very careful of. And even Ghana, this reminds me of what happened in Ghana. You know, Ghana, we hear of awam before, which means is something fraud. Yes. So awam was Association of West African Merchants. Was European merchant, was formed by European merchant who sold European goods in Ghana, then Gold Coast. So awam was accused of conspiring with the local government for cutting Africans out of wholesaling, retailing, trade monopoly, cheating customers and all that. They involved in even price fixing, market sharing agreement, restricting import and export in trade in Ghana, then Gold Coast. So this is something we should be careful of, and this led to the boycott that led to the right of 1948. So this awam thing, and remember this, how awam has stuck in the minds of Ghanaians till now. Awam. So going forward, having AfCFTA bringing something wonderful. I think foreign trade, foreign agreement, just like Ethiopia also has done, and Ghana is also doing. I think these are the things we should be very careful of. We don't want any awam thing which will limit the pace of AfCFTA. So I think this is something we should be very careful of as a continent.
Okay. All right. So yes, you're saying something. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just a short observation. I don't know if the African Union is actually equipped to be able to handle the excesses that this trade agreements will bring. Like Joachim and Lord and even Lewis have rightly pointed out, the trade deals with the UK and all that. It's not only the UK. All European countries are trooping into Africa to sign trade deals with them. And I don't know whether already existing trade deals that external countries have with African countries are going to be incorporated or like infused into this new trade agreement. So I think that the African Union has to be strengthened. The African Union Commission especially has to be like the European Commission that is able to negotiate trade deals on behalf of the entire free trade area, so that if a country like China wants to, right from this period onwards, want to negotiate trade deals with one African country, then it has to come to the African Union Commission to be able to negotiate this trade deal on behalf of the whole Africa. Because once they start importing into Kenya, then Kenyans will also start spreading all this, or once they start producing, let's say for instance, mobile phones in Kenya, or they start producing mobile phones in Lome, then it means that Togolese also have the opportunity, thanks to the African Free Trade Area, to export these phones all
China.
over the country, okay,
Mhm.
all over the continent, giving China a market size of 1.2 billion Africans, which it wouldn't have had if there was no free trade area in Africa in the first place. And so this is the tactic they are using to infiltrate the markets. I don't know if there are structures in place in this new deal to be able to check all those things, and that is where the rules of origin I have spoken about comes in. It has to be really, really strict on the rules of origin. If it is not coming from an African country, then we are sorry, we can't give you a preferential treatment on that. Then what courts are we going to use to solve our issues? Are we going to send the courts to the European
The
Court of Justice? Because usually, I don't know what happens. African leaders do something wrong, and you would see them being tried in London. It's a mistake. It's
Big
a
mistake.
mistake. Yeah, and so that is some of these things. Our over reliance on the West is one of the reasons why people have a very justifiable reason to doubt if this African Free Trade Area is actually going to serve the interest of Africans, or only going to advance the interests of their colonial masters and those who are seeking to, uh, um, further devour the continent.
Mhm.
And so I think it's important that we are able to establish as a continent some rules, some rules of engagement. I watched the launch with my good friend Joachim on Facebook, and I must say I wasn't really happy. It's I am scared. It's just talks. It's just mere rhetorics. It is not action at all. Look, we are talking about serious business. We are talking about trade between countries. What business do we have with poetry? What business do we have with music?
music.
Why
Just to
why are
promote
you
the
being
African culture, that's what they will
sentimental?
tell you.
No,
Spending money.
you see, the whole thing is not about culture. The whole thing is about trade. It's serious. You are playing African music. You are giving us drama, and we don't need that. You want to
Money.
show us that you are serious. Tell us the rules you have put in place. It's a whole this whole initiative. I'm afraid is not coming from the African Union. It's coming from Germans. It's coming from the European Union, from the UN, who want to only expand their markets to Africa. They just want free access to their goods.
Mhm.
And our leaders, I don't know. I don't like. I'm saying it's like, oh, we are happy. This is coming to us. Let's just do this to give the impression that we are working for Africa. But I won't be surprised if the consultants who are actually pushing for this to happen are all non-African people, whereby we are consulting people from the European Union, consulting people from the US. Oh, how do you want us to do this? What do you think we can do? And we have seen this in many of our sectors, even in our country, Ghana, not only in Ghana, everywhere. We have to go and call people from outside the country to come and do, research for us. Even in Ghana, 2016, in our election petition case, we do not even have an accounting firm in Ghana to be able to count we had to call on KPMG. Okay, KPMG is a South African company, so fine, that is given. But it goes without saying that You see, we don't have faith in our own selves. We don't have the the confidence that we need as a continent to be able to pull this off. And I'm afraid that once this thing kickstarts, it will bounce in our faces and will fall on the European masters to fix this for us. And that is where we would have given our fate over to them for them to handle us in the way they would want us. So if they are serious, then they should show us that they are serious by putting in place structures and rules and making sure that they establish institutions at the African level, not institutions in Europe, not institutions in the US. They establish institutions uh, um, in Ethiopia, in Nairobi, in South Africa, legislations and judiciary for us to be able to solve our issues amongst ourselves and not take our issues outside. That will help us rather than depending on the EU.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, so Louise, you are going to tell us what the implications of this treaty is for young startup businesses. But before you do that, we're all talking about Ghana just went to sign a treaty with the UK concerning the similar thing that we just signed to even establish in our own country. So are there any strict rules and regulations that countries that sign to this treaty must abide by? And if there's any consequence for states that breaks these rules?
I think, first of all, the General Secretary or the Secretary General of AFC, AfCFTA, made mention that, pointed out that sovereign countries already may have existing trade treaties with other countries, their trading counterparts. And that would primarily be one of the roadblocks looking forward. So with AfCFTA itself, they admit that these treaties may not be binding on independent African states as far as the free trade area is concerned. So for me, if you ask me, there is no big problem. I mean, all countries would need to amend their trade laws to be in tune with what AfCFTA is presenting, right? Otherwise, if a country's laws has issues with AfCFTA, the country may, despite being a signatory on the treaty, the country may decide to go what's in its interest. All right, so it's about AfCFTA doing much to ensure that the countries align their trade objectives to that of AfCFTA, and then we can have a very progressive deal. AfCFTA can do nothing to Ghana because Ghana is a sovereign state and we are governed by our own rules in our country, right? What we've signed on AfCFTA is just a treaty, and whatever we sign in a treaty is not binding on us, especially if it conflicts with our own constitution. The best we can do is align it to suit the interests of our country. So that is the first thing, and this already the Secretary General admitted to that, right? With the UK, our trade deal with the UK, it's all about independent African countries thinking about the collective good of the continent rather than their own interest. That is what we can. That is what we can do to deal with AfCFTA. It's all about not being selfish, but thinking about the collective good, and then we can be able to move forward. Otherwise, treaties will remain treaties, and countries may decide to treat it with the seriousness or unseriousness they want, so to speak. All right. What was the second question?
Yes. That was the implication of the treaty to young startup businesses.
Yeah, one of the issues we have in Africa with the implication of the free trade area is that many of our compatriots would need to have increase access to technology and education and capital. The implication of this really means that it's for us, it's by us, and we will need to make the most out of it. But how do we make the most out of it? We'll need to be educated. Go around the country, especially let's take the host country. I'm sure you even find many of our age mates who may not be aware of this important institution in our country. So access to education is a big issue. All right, we need to educate the African youth about the importance of this institution and what it means to our future, what it means to our survival. All right, to be able to transform our continent to what we want it to be, to be able to cut off the brain drain system where we have many of our talented people moving away from here to settle in the Western world to contribute to their development at our detriment. So that is one, access to education. The second one is access to capital. We would all bear witness to the fact that many young people have brilliant ideas on what to do to transform the continent, but lack of access to credit facility is what is hindering their brilliant initiative to lead a very progressive charge to make sure our continent is one of the best in the world. So we need to look at our institutions, national or international. When we talk about international, we're looking at African Development Bank, we are looking at the regional banks, for example, the ECOWAS Development Bank in Ghana, in Togo here. We are looking at EcoBank, we are looking at other multinational banks that will be able to hand out credit to viable business ideas that can generate substantial amounts of money, equip young people, provide job opportunities so that our young people would be at the forefront of this brilliant trade deal. I won't say the trade deal is a mistake. No, it's the best. But to make the implication of it for us is to make sure our young people have access to capital, access to education, so we know about these things. That is what I can say about the AfCFTA on that.
Okay. All right, so Fidelia also joined us. She's watching live here with us. And I mean, viewers are happy with what we are doing. And we are happy we are doing this with you. All right, so today we are treating the African Continental Free Trade Area. And I'm sure if you joined us, you have heard enough. And if you have any comments, any questions, you can just drop them in the comment section. The questions will be answered. And if you have any topics for us to discuss for the year 2021, so you can send it to us via email or Facebook Messenger, or you can drop it here in the comment section too, which I've treated you. All right, so we have said so much about the European getting into this whole treaty and all that. Now, how do we see the independence of this treaty, knowing very well that some international organizations supported this whole idea? It was just it popped up on the screen not too long ago, the amount of money that the EU supported the AfCFTA with. So how sure are we that the AfCFTA is going to be independent after some other institutions have actually helped in its establishment or in its development? Erasmus.
Well, yes, that's a very good question. I think that's going to be an issue going forward. It's always been like that. It's always been like that. They they give you aid in return for commitment, and you would have to honor your commitments for the aid you are receiving. And I suspect this is going to be the case. I don't know the dynamics in this regard, but it is a strong suspicion, and I don't think anyone should be surprised that, of course, it makes sense that they would have interest in this particular trade agreement because it will be the largest trading bloc the world would ever know after the European Union. You see, so I mean, if countries are or the European Union itself is helping, it means that they are interested in the trade agreements, and they would want to benefit from it. I wouldn't fault them, because every business person or every economic minded organization or institution would look for the best for its members or for its citizens. So yes, it is up to us to also make sure that, yes, whatever help they are providing us, it is not detrimental to the growth and to the progress that we want to see. And that is the bottom line that we should always be careful about. We should know that, yes, they want to secure a place in our trade agreement and in our free trade area, but we should also be able to give some rules to say that, hey, these are our rules, just like they also give us rules when they are signing trade agreements with us. Very funny rules, you know, just to make sure that we are able to trade with them. We should also be in the capacity to be able to trade with them. But you see, the challenge is that as individual countries with a small economic size, we do not have the leverage that we need to be able to negotiate individually with these people. That is why I've always been an advocate for a stronger union, so that we can work as a collective union rather than just one economy. Because if Ghana alone is negotiating with the EU, you can imagine the stakes for us. We don't have any comparative advantage over we don't have much comparative advantage over the European Union. So, we need something to actually uh, um, grow. So we just accept anything they give us. So we should be able to stand on our feet. Um, just to add a little to what I've said, um, I think that we should also include agriculture. We should include agriculture in this free trade area. We should develop our agricultural sector, taking after the European Union, which has the common agricultural policy, where every member state contributes an annual quota to the union, and they use this money to develop the agricultural sector of their member states. They call it the redistribution policies that they use to help people, member states, you know, develop the agriculture, because Africa is all about agriculture. And if we do not actually work together progressively to make sure that we are growing our agriculture, adding value to agriculture, then I don't know what trade actually we are going to have amongst ourselves, because we don't have that much technology to say we are going to trade in weapons, we are going to trade in, let's say, computers, in trains and cars. What we can trade in is agriculture. So that is a very strong leverage that we have. We should work towards it, and that will help us.
All right. All right. So, Lord, based on what Erasmus said, you think that private sector involvement in the African continental free trade area is very key to the development of the treaty, or that is going to help the treaty to stay strong as we expect it to be?
What are you saying? The private sector involvement?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I'll answer this question by this Akan proverb that goes prior sewi baku ebu okabo ma embu. So one broomstick will break, but together don't break. Meaning in unity lies strength. So the more people come together, the more strengthened or the more stronger uh, 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 after will be. So I and also it gives a wide labor markets where mechanism that matches, potential employers and people, that gives the demand for labor with people who are available for work. So labor market operate at, local, national, international level, reflecting how operators and economy should operate. So I think the more we get people together, the more stronger after will be. My only problem is, the foreign, intrusion, whereby, because we know ourselves, we know our continent, when these people come in. For me, when I was reading after, when Joaquin brought this wonderful topic and I was reading and I got to the point and I saw the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation for Development supporting after, and I said, how can German ministry support after? It doesn't make sense. But I think the more these private sectors and you know, the more people come together, the more stronger it will be. Africa as a continent cannot be isolated and operate on its own. We cannot alienate ourselves from the world. Of course, we will trade with them, but they shouldn't decide what we should do for us. So yes, they can come on board, but after AU should decide should decide its objectives, its aim, what they want to achieve and all that. They shouldn't leave it to the outside world to do that for them. Yes, they can come, but we should decide what we need from them and not what they need from us. And I think that after will be a successful, a successful trade, for Africa, and Africa will benefit very well.
Okay. So we know that AfCFTA was launched some few years ago. Can we mention some of the achievements, some of the things that have been able to be implemented so far from the negotiation? If we have 2 or 3, then we take our summary and then we are done.
I don't know if our viewers will permit us a minute today to like 20 minutes BDR. But some of the, some of the small achievements that they've been able to accomplish is establishing a center in Ghana. That's Ghana being the center for this AfCFTA. As if you don't know AfCFTA and you are joining us now, that's the African Continental Free Trade Area. They establishing it, which means that we have hope. And again, they ensuring that the Treaty of Abuja, that's Abuja Treaty, if you don't know, that's the African Economic Community, to being affirmed in this treaty. Apart from that one, also getting down, being able to get 33 countries to rectify it. Yeah, it was 31 last
I
year.
think it's 50, 53 or 54.
Okay, the 54 is the total member states.
Yeah.
Those who have ratified
So
it,
53.
33.
Yeah. So 53 signed on to it.
Yes, and
53 signed, 33 ratified.
Yes.
I think they had
33 ratified.
so the second
Exactly.
one, 33 ratified. But
Okay.
so far,
Exactly.
33. And
Yes.
I wonder what the 2 other countries are doing though.
Well, the other countries, like Lord, you rightly said that Ethiopia is rather giving the continent, not the continent, but the Union, the African Union, some terms and conditions when they can enter their territory and when they can't. But Ethiopia will keep quiet for EU and the US to dictate to them, and they will follow. You see, these are some of the things that people have been saying. African youth no more have trust in the EU, as Arjuna said. The Africa Nkrumah wished, which we are not seeing it. And even Isaac too has stated it. We saw his comment that the one holding the keys to the treasury determines the nature of affairs of any country through spending, which EU is supporting. Yes, Lord, you rightly said it. No man is an island. We need support, but receiving country elsewhere, these are some of the things that won't help us, and it shows a bit weakness. These are some of the things that the AU has not yet achieved. The AfCFTA hasn't achieved. Even just the Agenda 2063 saying that silencing the gun in 2020, they couldn't even silence a gun. I think it was France who tried to silence it, but we saw what happened yesterday or last 2 days ago, which is funny. And Niger today, a lot of killings, about 100 people were killed, which silencing the gun, we haven't seen anything. So there are few ones I mentioned. That's having a center in Ghana, making sure that the Abuja Treaty is also well amended, and getting some 33 member states to rectify the treaty. These are some of the few steps. And also having some small entities ready to help out, small private sectors in Africa. But I will tell you that these small private sectors that have come out to say that they will be supporting, the banks saying they will be supporting, they will die very soon, because the other unions in the world have started infiltrating in it, and they'll be bringing their terms and rules and regulations. Just as EU have given us money, like the IMF, they will tell the AU what to do. Whenever they give you money, they have some rules that they will give you. So we should note this. And Louis rightly said, it's a treaty. They are not bounded, but the African Union can do something by making sure that they regulate everything, as Erasmus said. The union is weak. It's very weak. That's why they can't do anything. They can't do anything. So we only hope that this won't be a means to amass money for someone's pocket, but it will be okay. And it's quite unfortunate there is no time. I will just list these ones. Some of the problems that after we'll be facing, and if they're able to get this, it will help us ensure that there will be free movement of persons. Even though ECOWAS has it, the UMA has it, and the EEC has it. If you ensure that there is free movement of people in the continent, it will help out. And if you are able to get a common currency, which has been Gaddafi's number one priority, and also in Nkrumah, it will help us. Even though the Francophone countries may have it, African Union having it will help us. Thank you very much, and thanks. I would like to take advice too.
All right, thank you too. And we'll take the summary of whatever that you have to say that we didn't get time to say from all of you. But do well to include, Africa ranges from countries of developed, underdeveloped, large, and all that. So how do we make sure that both developed and underdeveloped, or whatever developing stage you have gotten to, benefit from the treaty equally, if only you are a signatory to the treaty? And then you add your final words and then you go. So we're taking it from Louise.
Yeah, sorry, what did you say? Come again.
Hello.
Hello, yeah, I didn't get, it was breaking. What did you say?
Okay, so I was asking that Africa ranges from both developed to underdeveloped and the other stages of development that countries have. So
Yeah.
do you just let us know that from all this that we have, how are all the other countries, being the developed, underdeveloped, or whatever developing stage you have gotten to, benefit from the treaty? And then you give us your final words.
Right, I think it's all up to AfCFTA for member states at the various stages of their development to benefit immensely from this trade deal. It's up to the Secretariat in Ghana to educate more people, put out more information, and ensure that businesses would have access to credit, would play an instrumental role in that, so that member states will be able to put out excellent programs for their independent businesses to work out. Erasmus mentioned of the rule of origin issues. AfCFTA must ensure that it applies the rule of origin to the latter, so that everyone else in the trading bloc respects the objectives of what we put out there. AfCFTA also must work with independent states alongside the treaty to take out any legal issues that may arise as a result of independent countries' existing trade laws. We've mentioned the issue with Ethiopia, where it's not allowing financial institutions into its country. So the Secretariat will need to step in and assist the country to be able to sort out that differences so that its objectives or its legal regime aligns with what AfCFTA presents to the continent. To sum up everything about AfCFTA, to me, I think the deal it's a good one for our continent. People have mentioned that it's the best thing that has happened to us since independence. I couldn't agree more. I think for us to be able to see to it that we benefit hugely from this, we all need to take the experiences. It will interest you to know that in Africa, we have more trade volumes happening within the regional blocks. So, for example, the ECOWAS bloc, the Eastern African Community, the Southern Africa Development Community, the Central African countries, you have more trade volumes happening within the independent regional blocks. So I think after being very new, would need to rely on the experiences of these independent regional blocks to be able to see how it can deploy its general objectives to the rest of the regions, to the countries, so that we can play out. Erasmus or someone else mentioned the fact that countries should be able to play out a certain policy where they would export their raw materials to countries within the sub-region, who would then transform them into the necessary value chain, so that it can be redistributed within the sub-region. So it's all about proper planning. Our leaders need to sit down, strategically plan on the positives of this deal. That is the only way we can benefit from it. Otherwise, it will just be the same old block, like the AU, where when giants like Gaddafi was being attacked, no one within the leadership of the union was able to stand up and defend the poor man from being attacked, like the manner in which he was. So it's about us, it's for us, and our leaders should come together, put up various strategies. And like many of my friends mentioned, it is progressive, and so we may not see the change we want to see now, but from year on, we'll be able to see the progress we want, and this will be the result of our leaders putting up very strategic plan to ensure that every member state benefits from this great idea. That's all I can say.
Okay. All right, so let's take our last words from Lord.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so as a continent, we must know that we are powerful. Africa is the world, second largest and second most populous continent after Asia. In trade, we need people, and Africa has the people. And in free trade area in the world is measured by the number of countries participating, and Africa has that 55 countries. Wonderful. So we should know that we are in a good position to execute this wonderful plan that we have. And AU should also know that in all his mandates, they should, do everything properly. Like I'm saying that in relation to what we all talk about Ethiopia refusing to, change his labor laws. Ethiopia has problem with Egypt over the Nile, and AU is failing to, resolve this problem. And for a country for Ethiopia as a country where you want the country to participate in AfCFTA, and you cannot even resolve a problem that he has, with Egypt and all that. How do you expect him to willingly or, willingly come to support this AfCFTA? So I think AU should be very, should execute his mandate very well, so that every African country will not left out, and we all come together and do the needful to promote AfCFTA and to promote.
All right. Erasmus. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, I think my colleagues have done enough justice to the topic. It's always about the African Union. African Union, it has to strengthen itself, or it has to be strengthened in one way or the other to be able to lead this particular free trade area. Otherwise, it will just be one of the rhetorics. One thing I've realized by my little observation is that we Africans are naturally gifted talkers. We know how to talk a lot, ranging from Dr. Kwame Nkrumah to Martin Luther King to Malcolm X to President Obama. Everybody of African descent is like we know how to talk. But then the challenge sometimes comes when we have to act on these things, and that was seen even in the formation of the African Union itself, where even till date the goals of integration, even in the least at the economic level, has not yet been achieved. So I sincerely hope that this is not one of those talk shows or episodes whereby we just come and raise everybody's hopes, and then at the end of the day we just go back and then sleep. I think we have to implement the things we have said. We have to think about how to broaden the scope to make sure everybody benefits from it. And then we should also protect ourselves. Let's not repeat what is going on in the trade blocks in the regional areas, like the ECOWAS, whereby we have the same passports, ECOWAS passports, but before I can cross the border, the land border to Togo, I'll have to pay 1,000 francs CFA before I cross the land border. All these things are issues that would be raised, or that we will face going forward in the implementation of the free trade area. And I think that they have to be checked. It should be a deliberate attempt. It shouldn't be something that should be left in the hands of time. We are saying progressively, yes, time will teach us and all that, but we should also be deliberate about some of these things. We can learn from trade unions in the world, like the Mercosur, the European Union, the EFTAs, and the the all the trade unions, the NAFTA and all that in the world. They should serve as lessons to us to help us reshape the direction we want to take Africa to. And I think that it will help us and generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Erasmus. All right, and before we come to Joaquin, we just had a suggestion from one of our viewers, Dr. Isaac Akotoye, our very own. He suggested that we increase our viewership. Thank you very much, Doctor. That's a good suggestion and something we've been working on for some time now. This is a challenge to all of us, a call to all of us, our viewers and everybody out there, to invite people, spread the good news about the talk show on the League of African Defense, and invite people to join us whenever we are here. Yes, we know we have viewers after the program. We have a lot of views after the program. But when you join us, as the program gets interactive, you put in your questions and the answers are given to you and it becomes good. So thank you very much, Dr. Isaac. Joaquin.
Okay, so I think my colleagues have said it all, and you just said it, that if you are watching, try and invite others, share the video too, so that we get more viewers to follow us. And I would like to add up to it that the agreement, as the AfCFTA has stated it, features protocols on trade in goods, trade in services, investment, intellectual property rights, competition, and dispute settlement. We hope that this will not just be a mere rhetoric, but it will be an action, as our topic for today is. And I also hope that Nigeria will very soon rectify this after, because Nigeria is one of the biggest economies in Africa. So we hope that they will join us very soon. And I would like to say that as Ghana, we've been saying, God bless our homeland Ghana. So should God be with our motherland, Africa. The French will say, berceau d'humanité, the heart of all humanity. We hope it will not just be that. And the reason why there are people in other continents shouldn't be the case that Africans, we those here, were never ready to change. That's why the others left to find a change. But we will truly bring a change. And those who left us to be in the western, the eastern, and the other parts of the continent will come to stay, but not just come to just exploit from us. So thank you once again. And may after be an action, but not a mere rhetoric.
Great. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Erasmus. Thank you, Joaquin. You've done so well. And thank you to all our viewers joining us. Do well to invite your colleagues and your friends on Facebook when watching us next time. And if you have any comments, suggestions, send it to our email and we'll gladly answer you. Thank you very much for joining. See you next week right here on your talk show.